right, welcome back to the Scarlet Faithful podcast. I'm Aaron Brightman, coming to you quite a bit hours past Rutgers' very disappointing performance and loss to Mississippi State on Saturday, December 23rd. I had a family thing all day and into the night, kids and everything, and it's just about close after 9 o'clock, and wanted to touch on what happened today and what it kind of means moving forward. Obviously, this is a golden opportunity for Rutgers to earn a quad one non-conference win in a neutral game, and they really came out with urgency, with energy, with focus. They were hot, then they got cold, but Mississippi State got colder. They were up 20-15, and I believe they held Mississippi State. It was about 7 minutes without a field goal, and Rutgers could not extend the lead. And I just honestly felt in that moment that was going to be a missed opportunity within the game, of a game that turned out to be a complete missed opportunity. But they needed to build on that lead. They had momentum. They had the home crowd. They were playing with purpose. They were locked in defensively, and then they went cold. And, Andre Hyatt hit that buzzer shot at halftime to tie the game. But Rutgers came out in the second half, and they were disjointed. They were not connected. They were dominated on the boards. And, they were dominated on the boards in the first half, but Rutgers was able to compensate. They forced some turnovers. But really disappointing. And I think one thing that's been different about this team is we've seen them, when they lose, they're getting outworked. And in the past, that wasn't the case most of the time. Rutgers would have terrible shooting nights, right, which they did again today, but we haven't seen them get outworked this way. They've gotten out rebounded before, but not this much in terms of one-sided. And it didn't look – it looked like the team kind of conceded things down the stretch, and that was really disappointing. A big difference in the game was that Mississippi State, attacked the rim more relentlessly. They were, they struggled converting layups. They were just 6 of 20. They were 11 of 26 layups and dunks, but they forced the action and they got to the foul line. They got 26 free throws. They made 22 of them. That was a huge advantage in the game. Rutgers was 11 of 14. Rutgers is finally a game that, they were solid inside. They were 12 of 20 on dunks and layups, and they were 8 of 25 on all other two-point shot attempts. They missed a ton of mid-range jumpers. Derek Simpson really struggled with that. I didn't think, they took a lot of bad shots per se, but I thought it kind of summed up. One side was willing to, go all out physically, impose their will, mix it up. And Rutgers kind of looked like a finesse team that wasn't physical on the glass, and rather than create contact at the rim, pulled up for mid-range, and they were ice cold. So, they struggled from three again. I think the flow of the offense, though, was a little bit off. They weren't sharing the basketball as much as they needed to. And they weren't hunting threes in the sense of, they were 3 of 17, but, like Noah Fernandez didn't have a three-point shot attempt. And that can't happen. That can't happen. Gavin Griffiths, and, he was 0 of 3. But Fernandez and Griffiths only had 7 shots each. And aside from Andre Hyatt, who we'll get to in a minute, Griffiths and Fernandez are your best perimeter scorers, and they only taking 7 shots each. When Derek Simpson was 3 of 14, listen, I really like Derek Simpson. I've had him on the podcast before. I've interviewed him, otherwise, and he's had a really tough season. I think if you look at where Rutgers is right now, a big reason why at 7-4 is that Derek Simpson hasn't taken the leap that he needed to take for this team to take that next step. And in losses this year, he's really struggled. He's 6 of 26 from the floor. 6 of 26 from 2-point range, 1 of 6 from 3. So he's 7 of 32 from the floor in the 4 losses. That's 21.9%. That's rough. Now, listen, he had 6 assists to 1 turnover today. That was better. He did kind of, he did a good job, I thought, of looking for his teammates. That's something he's improving on. He had some steals. He had, what did he have rebound wise? But I thought that he had 4 rebounds, 2 steals. He actually was plus. He was in the plus minus. He was +4, was it? So he wasn't. He offered the team positives in some ways, but his shooting as a whole, where they needed that offense, he hasn't been able to give it in losses, and that's been part of the problem. It was +11. Muat Mag was +4. And Wolf was +1. Everybody else was in the negative. So they've really needed Simpson to take that next step, and he hasn't. And Cliff has regressed. He had 0 rebounds tonight. In the 4 losses, he's averaged 6.5 points, 4.5 rebounds. He was in a lot of foul trouble today. Just 3 shot attempts. Rutgers needs Cliff to be Cliff. We saw the positives of that against Seton Hall, and we saw the negatives of that today when he's not assertive, when he's not aggressive in a controlled way. Mississippi State was really good inside. They had quite the presence in terms of how they controlled the glass. I mean, it was +21 on the glass. You had it was pretty much dominant from the beginning. I mean, Bell was just unbelievable. 17 points, 18 rebounds. Matthews had 18 points, 11 rebounds. They had 4 guys with 5 or more rebounds. 47 to 26 is just brutal. Turnovers, Rutgers forced 14 turnovers. I thought they did fairly well against the press. They only turned it over 8 times. But, points off of turnovers, Rutgers just had a 15-14 edge. So Mississippi State took advantage of the Rutgers turnovers, and Rutgers did not take advantage of Mississippi State's turnovers enough. Transition points, fast breaks. Rutgers had a 12-7 edge. Mississippi State's pretty good in transition. So Rutgers, slowed them down to that degree, but Rutgers didn't have enough in transition. A big part of that is they didn't work any rebounds. They got 18 bench points. I mean, I mentioned Griffiths. He did have 9 points. He was 3 of 7. He was 3 of 3 from the free throw line, which is good because he's been shooting under 50%, but just over 3 from 3. I wanted to talk about Andre Hyatt. So he had 18 points, 6 rebounds. He's been the most consistent player on Rutgers this year. If everybody played with the toughness of Andre Hyatt, this team would be better. And Andre Hyatt's received his fair share of criticism through the years, and I, have criticized him as well, just in terms of, he has a tendency to take bad shots. He's had games where he kind of, he doesn't stop shooting when he's not on. But he has shown real growth this year. He's shown maturity. He's been a leader. He's been very tough. He's resilient. If this team was as resilient as Andre Hyatt, they would be better. And he showed it again today, and he got that 3 at the buzzer. He has had very good court awareness, I think. I think that's actually improved. I don't think that's an easy thing to do at that stage of your career. He's been on. He's been mentally on. The first game of the season, he was bad against Princeton. He really struggled, and I was nervous that he hadn't taken that step that kind of hurt that he did. But he's been very good in every other game since. He's only scored less than 8 points in any other game. He's got the best offensive rating of his career. It's not even close. He's at 110. which is he's at 110. He's I mean, LSU 1 year he was over that, but his usage was far below. He was at like 32.8% minutes. This year he's at 70%. He's a 110 rating. He's just 280th nationally in turnover rate, top 500 in block rate. He's shooting 37% from three, 22 of 59. He's in the top 500 nationally. He has been, he was the only guy that made threes today. It was 3 of 6. He's been everything Rutgers needed him to be. And there's not a lot of other guys you could say that about. And Andre Hyde deserves a lot of credit for that, a lot of praise. So wanted to make sure I said that. Just in terms of Fernandez and Griffiths, I mentioned, Mississippi State, they were bigger, they were stronger, they were more physical. They looked like they wanted it more. They impose their will in the second half. And right now, I mean, listen, it's no secret. The reality is Rutgers is not an NCAA tournament team as of Christmas 2023. They don't have the look. They don't have the resume. Now, is that reason to jump to jump ship and just, the wait till next year mentality, which has been online a little bit today, actually more than a little bit? No, that stinks. I hate that. College basketball is a crazy, crazy world. And, there's some variables here. I mean, Jeremiah Williams could be eligible in January. Emmanuel Agbull, is nearing a return from his ACL and will bolster the front court in terms of coming off the bench behind Cliff. Might allow Wolf to do a few different things there. So Mag just played his third game. He struggled tonight. He only had 1 rebound. So Mag and Cliff are completely neutralized. He did score a little bit. He shot a lot. He was 3 of 10. He's like I said, he's still trying to get back into it. He had 8 points, but not a factor on the boards, which is a problem. He defensively, it wasn't his best game, and he's still gelling. JaMychal Davis was quiet tonight. So it certainly isn't. This team hasn't given us reason for optimism that they're going to, be there in March when we hope they would be. But at the same time, it's too early to give up on this team. It just is. And they have a break now with Christmas. They're off for 3 days, and they have some time here. They have Stonehill next Saturday, and then you open up Big Ten play. You're at Ohio State, at Iowa, home to Indiana. You got to win 2 of those 3. Now you're looking at, if they beat Stonehill, which they should, they'll finish 8-3 in non-conference. Not awful, but of their 4 big neutral court road games, 3 of which are against high majors, and then Princeton, they were 1-3. So not great. And I think they need to win at least probably 12 Big Ten games. It always depends, the mix, like who you beat, who you lost to. But they're going to need to take advantage of a soft Big Ten this year and get better quick. Physically, there's a concern there on the glass. The other thing about defensively today is that in the second half, when they kept missing shots, they lost their intensity, and that was disturbing. In the first half, they had the intensity, even when they struggled offensively. Second half, they lost it, and that is alarming. They're top 20 efficiency defense, but their competition hasn't been there yet, and it's disappointing to see a Steve Pikiell team, peter out defensively, not be competitive on the glass. It's one thing that we're used to seeing poor shooting, right? But to see those other things, that is concerning, and a little upsetting. And they have time to figure it out, but they got to figure it out soon. The clock is ticking, because if they don't figure it out by mid-January, the NIT would be probably the ceiling for this season. So I don't get, anger. I don't get people wanting to write this team off. Again, expectations going into this season. I wouldn't say it was a rebuilding year, but I believed, and I still believe this team can compete for an NCAA tournament bid. They just have to change their identity. They're not going to be able to change personnel overnight. They might pick up a couple guys, like I said, but the wings and guards, aren't rebounding, and their best rebounder, defender inside, has a tendency to have some games that he's not dominant like they need him to be, and guard play has been up and down, and we'll see what happens here. Like I said, they Ohio State and Iowa on the road to start 2024. They'll have Stonehill on Saturday. I'll certainly do a basketball-related podcast before their next game, and I'm still optimistic this team can make a run. It's fair to say right now they don't look like they have it in them, but college basketball is too early, and if any program taught us that you can't give up, it's this Rutgers team from 2 years ago. I get the personnel is different. I get, a lot's different. But at the same time, there is a path to see this team evolve in a way that they can still be good. And there's going to be some soul searching over Christmas. They have to independently really decide what they want this season to be. Thank you for listening and watching the Scarlet Faithful podcast once again.